Hello, hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Okay, so we're going live again, and as always, we are getting the help of our team. Okay, and let's go ahead and introduce our team. Here goes Clara Jean from Taking Care of Business, Bruno, our self love coach, and today we again had a little technical difficulty, and hopefully soon Irina will be joining us again. So we miss you. And let's get started. Today's topic is a fun topic. So let's see. Let's go over real quick on advanced productivity techniques. So, Kara, take it away.
Absolutely. So the first one we're going to start with is those flow states or that deep work state where you are just generating those optimal focus and productivity hours. We're going to go into some of the habits, techniques, data, and behaviors that you can use to create it. But I wanted to go, I'm sad Arena's not here because I feel like flow state is so part of her manifestation thing. But I want to go take this to Bruno first and talk about flow state, doing the really big deep work, like the 80% mental work so that you can just show up and do the stuff that actually matters. Talk to me on a self-love front. What does that mean for you?
Yeah, to me, it comes like, being worthy of it. It's the first step. Like understanding that you are worthy of the best outcomes and, and that you're worthy of succeeding. Like we often talk about allowing ourselves, or sometimes, like I figure that like a lot of people, like they are conditioned with, I'm not used to allowing myself. I always have to have other people allowing me, right? Or then they come from the position of who they're with, the place they are, and then they make a whole conclusion about it, right? And they think they can just take forward and stuff, right? And so it really depends, like when it comes to like but that's the thing, like does it come from a place of control or does it come from a place of flow, right? And so that's the difference between control and flow, is that when you cannot control the flow of it, right? You actually have to surrender that control, right? So things actually flow, right? So I figure that again, when we talk about the flow, right, we talk about how much attention is actually being derived, like being like like projected on what you're doing, right? And so whatever you focus your attention on, it will grow. That's period. That's like that's assertive. That's that is something that we cannot really kind of go against. That's just natural, like energetic laws of the universe, whatever you want to call it. And
Yeah.
when it comes to self love, it's very important because, like, we're flowing with what we're doing. And it's, we can define the flow state as time goes by, we don't even see it, right? We don't even feel it. Like we completely lose track of what we're doing and the time we're doing it, right? So yeah, I feel like for self love that's very important because it also shows you that you're capable of it.
Bruno, just to let you know, your mic is coming in and out, is almost out. I can barely hear you.
I
Apologize.
caught
Can you hear me?
almost all of that though. Let me recap and see if I caught this. So what I heard was first the permission, right, to succeed, that you get to have things in a flow easy state, which I think
Yes.
from a leadership point of view that absolutely tracks. Then the heard a little controversy in there, right? So being allowed to do the work when it comes, but also then there's that balance of when it's not, and figuring out which of those, if not doing is the productive thing to do, or if doing is the productive thing to do. And I would say that's the real work. And then what I think I heard you going into was sort of along the lines of once you have decided you're going to do the work and it's going to work right, staying in that smooth space where innovation happens. But that's kind of where it started to break up. So I don't know if I caught that last bit right.
No. You got it. And ultimately, that's it. Like it's in a flow state that the innovation comes, the excitement is, the curiosity happens, right? And it's very important that you are in that flow state because
Yes.
it's like, for example, when we talk about multitasking, right? Like You can flow multitasking. You feel much better like when you're just doing one thing at a time. And I'm a multitasker. I love
Oh
to
no, I
multitask
just
myself.
you just dropped out again. Are you hearing him, Johnny? I'm sorry, Bruno. I'm not trying to cut you off. I just lost everything you were saying.
That's
Like it
all
was
right.
so
Yeah,
clear.
Did you can you hear me?
now I
Yes, there
can.
we go.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah. I think maybe it should be my Wi-Fi. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, but that's all right. That's all right. It happens. But anyways,
traveling internationally. This is
that's
what happens, guys.
yeah. But that's it, right? So that's basically like my point is kind of like basically that. Yes.
I love that. Okay, so I would say that the leadership stuff mirrors that, and I'm going to kick it to Johnny in just a minute, but I'm going to put this into the next one that it suggested was habit. So I would say that this flow state and deep work, I think of that as like the 80-20 Pareto's principle stuff. Like you have to do the deep work, like the big mental weight stuff of what is productive for you and what do the behaviors look like for you, because they're going to be different, they're going to be a little bit different for everybody. um, and then allowing yourself to get into that productive flow state and discovering what that looks like so that you can create a habit of getting back there. And I'm going to kick it over to Johnny in just a second on habits, because here is what I have learned partly from Johnny, is that if you don't check first what productive looks like for you and kind of live in that to figure out what are the habitual things that happen then, uh, you can't systemize correctly, because if you don't know what the habits are that you can systemize, you may systemize habits that are not working for you, because I have done that. And Johnny, I want you to talk to us about the power of understanding those habits for systems.
Sure, I'll be glad to share. Now, the one thing that is gonna help you boost your productivity is, like Kara said, having a system. The whole reason McDonald's, Burger King, all the chain companies are successful with very little to no training is because of systems. You know, if you go to a McDonald's, they're always going to have the fryer right next to the drive-through, and on the opposite side they have the assembly line for the burgers. And if you go to Checkers and other places, you see they have a system. Everything is where it's supposed to be so that you can process quickly. So you gotta figure, like Kara was saying, your workflow. What is your real workflow? Do you check emails first thing in the morning? And do you like to create your tasks or check your to-do list? And then, based upon what are your actual needs, create something that makes sense. What do I mean by making sense? For example, for me, I have a pet peeve that I get into the office. First thing that I do is check all my emails, because my email has to be blank, has to be at zero. I know that Kara had that issue before, she mentioned last time. Well, I
Got
still
that
have
there.
it. I still have it. And, then once I have gone through my emails, my next thing is start with my to-do list. And for to-do list, I think I mentioned it. I'm gonna go ahead and activate a poll right here on Facebook. If you're watching us on Facebook, you can go ahead and answer the questions that I'm posting. The question is, have you used a productivity tool software? I just want to know how many people that watch us actually do use a productivity tool or software. Now, right now, the main thing is understanding your flow. So as I said, for me is emails, then to do. For to do, project.co or project.co is a free account. Go ahead and open it up. Nothing crazy about it. But if you have a habit of having projects, 20,000 projects open and none of them finished, it's going to help you to keep track and make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. And also, if you have a team next to you trying to meet or accomplish something, it's also really, really important for you to go ahead and get those people moving in the right direction, because Rome was not built just with one person. There was a village, it took a village. The next thing that I would say about productivity is understanding your team. Okay, and here's what it gets tricky. And I'm gonna throw that back into Kara's plate because she knows what it is to deal with high level, high productive entrepreneurs and business owners. It's a completely different flow than what we're used to. Usually, high level entrepreneurs, they're running, their head is in 20,000 buckets at the same time, and they want to fix all of them at the same time, and they want to run and meet the team, and they believe they're Superman. So the main thing right here is understanding that uh, who's your team and how you're gonna delegate. So saying that you have a team. If you don't have a team, then just keep doing what you're doing. Figure out what's the next tool for you. Okay? So,
I
Kara.
love I love that you said buckets, right? Because I feel like this is going to be the thing that ties this whole conversation in so far. So when I first started in my entrepreneur leadership space, like everybody talked about filling up your cup, right? Like Bruno gives us tons of ways that we can get extra dopamine or oxytocin into our system. That's just my science words for happy feelings and connection, which is what those chemicals give us. And that allow for us to be in that flow state, to feel what feels really good, what feels really consistent, what feels really sustainable. Like you have to fill your cup before you can do that. If you do not have not navigated how to live with a full cup on a regular basis, you need to see Bruno before you start going down any of the rest of these paths, because that's that deep work, so that you can do the flow state. Figure out what those habits are. What is your routine? What is your flow? What is your go-to? Do you need to have your emails cleared out? Because then you'll start to see the habits that form around those. And when you start to collect habits, you'll discover that a cup isn't enough. You will be so abundant from filling your own cup that you will then start to fill buckets. And everyone I work with has 3 to 6 buckets that they are feeling. Like here we have a consultancy, and then also we have an agency plus the nonprofit, and what if Johnny has a dance studio, right? So he's got these big buckets that are out there constantly being filled up, right? And in that, that's where you discover what are the things that you're doing for all of the buckets. Those are the first things you systemize. Get those off your plate. And then what are the unique ones? And that's where you're going to start working with the people in there. You'll either systemize or you'll delegate. You'll figure out habitually where the flow is happening, and then you can figure out what things are blocking it and do the work to clear that, which I love. So I want to go into some more techniques. I'm going to share my favorite, mostly because it's come up like 6 times already today, and I love to be able to jump on this bandwagon and have this conversation. So the Pomodoro method, except I use the more spicy pandemic Pomodoro. So the Pomodoro is work for 25 minutes, break for 5. But I do work for 10, break for 5. Because when we sent everyone home during the pandemic, companies did a bunch of studies, and literally you can double productivity by only working 40 minutes in an hour, because you will achieve 2 hours worth of work. It's incredible. And I just went into my phone and created an 8-hour process of these alarms. It was so labor intensive. This was the like do the deep work so that you can find that flow state and figure out what it is. Like putting them in here was the big work. But having them in here already, it's been 2 days and I have accomplished more easily. Like not just like am I upping my productivity and now I'm like double exhausted, but like in flow. Just constantly aware of time and its movement and what great thing I could do next with excellent prompts. So I'm going to send it first over to Bruno, and then we're going to come back to Johnny specifically around these techniques. So the spicy pandemic Pomodoro, that's my favorite technique. What about you, Bruno? What, especially when we talk about shifting from filling a cup to filling buckets, what is one of those high productive, not just high performance, but high productive habits or tools or techniques that you take people through?
Yeah, can you listen to me right? Can you listen to me well?
I hear
Yeah.
you perfectly. Yes.
Okay, awesome. So if it breaks, it's the Wi-Fi. Well, I feel like this is a very good question, Kara. For me, it's one of those things where I figure that like it's all about like obviously going step by step. It's very important to take step by step. But in this case, this technique always works, right? And it's not something that like you are just gonna like give up because now you're on a different level, right? Because that would be self sabotage, right? uh, it happens a lot. It's like, oh, like now I did this, these things probably won't work. I don't know. Maybe I should try the same thing. I'd rather try something than not try something at all. You know. But at the end of the day, this technique is super important. It's super crucial, and it's very important to have the foundations because the basics is sometimes the solution for the things that you really want to achieve. And for example, like the
Mostly.
Pomodoro, absolutely right. And the Pomodoro technique is should and must be a part of every single person's foundation when it comes to productivity work, right? Because whether if you're just starting, whether if you're in the middle, or whether if you're an expert, or whether like if you're like the best, right? I figure that the person who's good at what they do should always tell you like, like um, work 25 minutes or 30 minutes, rest for 10 or 5, right? And then the same, boom, 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 boom. Because it's like Carol was saying, right? Like,
Bruno, your mic has gone away again.
oh, can you hear me?
It's a little hard to hear you, but we can hear you very far.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yep.
A little bit better, yeah.
A little bit better. Okay. Yeah, but anyways, so it's very important again, like right, like do one thing at a time because that's the fastest way to with doing one thing at a time with the Pomodoro technique is the fastest way to fill multiple buckets because you do one thing and you finish that fast because you're focusing solely on that, right? It's better to take like like 30 minutes doing one thing perfectly well and to take 6 hours doing five things extremely well. And some of those things will probably have mistakes. Not all, because then if you, especially if you don't rest, then you're gonna have little mistakes here and there, right? So it's very important to like, kind of like give your mind a little break. Now, for the Pomodoro technique to work, it's not just the amount of work you're doing, it's
Bruno,
also
I'm
the
so
rest.
sorry, but your mic is almost gone. Can you hear her?
Okay.
I let me recap and see if I caught what you were saying. So, with the Pomodoro technique, double down on the fact that it's amazing. Love the back to basics. So, what I heard in there is the rest, right? Like just giving yourself a break in between levels of productivity, doing that self love, self care stuff, back to basics, right? That is so often something that doesn't get left behind. And then you were saying so specifically with the Pomodoro, and then I didn't catch the rest.
No, no, it was, I was going to say, like, so specifically with the Pomodoro, right? It's obviously the work that you're doing. So, specifically with the Pomodoro, it's the work that you're doing, but also the rest. And resting is not going on your phone because you're also tiring, your brain, right? So, like, whether if it's like just taking a 5 minute walk or a 10 minute walk, that's kind of great. Or do other things.
I love that. Okay, so what I heard there, it broke up a little, but I think what I heard is specifically with the Pomodoro, it's two parts. So I missed that the focus. Like make sure you're intentional and focused on what you are doing, and then also taking the break. But like hands on hips here, right? For real breaks, though, not just like scrolling through your phone in a doom scroll because that's not actually relaxing your brain. Go for a walk. Go take a real break. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I would double down on all of that and agree. Okay, Johnny, what does this bring up for you?
Well, the thing is that for me brings just me. I'm attempting to do the Pomodoro because I tend to go squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. So I'm attempting to it. Although whenever I get laser focused, like today, I was working. And I did not feel the time go through. Like I literally just went straight through it. So, but I do my best to bring that up. To me, if I would like to move a little bit on to the importance of using the software that now you have the proper way, because let's say that you have a beautiful car parked in your garage, but you don't know how to drive it. Is that car really worth it to you? it's
Right.
not useful.
It's just sitting
So
in there.
yep. So let's talk about a few tools and understanding how they work. So our topic is geared towards entrepreneurs and business owners. One of my passions, as you know, and that's why I have C Global, is web development, SEO campaigning. So let me demystify a little bit some of the issues that some business owners may be having. Because yeah, you can do the Pomodoro day in, day out, but if you don't know how to use your tools, what's the point?
Right.
So, number one, if you have not heard about our Lord and Savior ChatGPT,
Where you
you need
been?
to
What rock?
yeah, you need to get on the wagon because that wagon has sailed. So I'm just gonna go ahead and show you real quick one of my screens because I want you to go ahead and get used to seeing some of the beauties that ChatGPT has to offer.
I
So
love
I'm
this.
about
This
to
is
share
a
my
whole
screen.
use a tool, don't be a tool moment.
Yep. Okay. It's logging in right now as we speak.
Productivity 101.
There we go. I'm just avoiding showing you my credentials. Give me just 1 second. Because let me tell you, the paid ChatGPT is definitely worth it. If you're a business owner, I understand that the free is amazing and you like it, but let me show you this, and you're gonna see that it's definitely worth it. So ChatGPT right here. Boom. Let me know once you all can see my screen. I'm gonna put my screen on the very next
There we go.
transition. Is it big enough for everybody to see, or should I
I
make it
think
bigger?
so.
Okay. So let's go ahead and make this. So if you all can see, you can see where it says explore GPTs. You know that whole thing about people buying prompts, going online and buying prompts for this, that, and the third? Like, for example, social media. You type social media, look, there's a social media
But
creator, there's a social media marketing agency, social media marketing expert, social media post creator, post user, and these prompts are already created and ready to go. All you have to do is click, ask the question without even telling them what's the situation beforehand. Like, usually you have to tell your ChatGPT, hello, you are such and such, and therefore I want you to react this way. Well, with these prompts, you don't. That's number one. So that's going to save you time and it's going to make sure that your information is really good. Now, when you're on your ChatGPT, make sure that you're on your ChatGPT 4 or your ChatGPT 4o mini. What's the difference between one and the other is how many tokens does it take away from you. If you're using the paid version by token, you really want to use the mini unless it's something super super complicated that you need extra brain power, and then you will use the 4.0. The 4 mini will be great for all your research, all your blog creation, social media content creation. And if you go to the chat gpt, it will tell you the level of knowledge and how much can each one of the different gpt models can do for you. So that is one. The next one is understanding. Let me go ahead and remove this screen. The next one will be understanding your website and your social media. So, if you want to really be really productive at your business, uh, I would love to hear in the comments how do you use your website and how you use your social media. Although I'm going to go ahead and give you an answer, uh, I want you to really start thinking how you're using it. A lot of business owners come up to me and tell me, "Hey, my website is not doing anything for me. I just have a website and there's nobody buying anything from me. Like I thought I was just gonna have to build the website and just wait for
if
the
you build it, it will
rain."
fill. No, that's just your
Yes,
house.
yes, that is true. So the main thing is understanding that all the social media platforms blogs, this type of videos, this content, it's in order for you to send people to your website. Okay? Your website has to be with enough calls to actions or CTAs so you can move the needle into a person and say, you know what, let me give it a try. Let me at least subscribe for either a marketing hook, which could be a free something that you're giving, or it could be a consultation. It could be so many things that you can use as marketing hooks. And then once you have that connection, that is no longer a cold lead. You just got a warm lead because somebody who's either lukewarm and interested in your business, that now you can start touching base with them. Just like making friends. And then you actually go ahead and proceed on the sale as you find it that the customer needs. A lot of times, a lot of people miss out on big sales because they're afraid of closing. They're afraid of saying, my price is this much, and I expect my payment due on receipt or due prior or due. And then you look, I'm going to show you the best negotiation tool. You sip it. You just sip it. You let them pick what's the payment option, and that's it. You walk away with a client. The client walks with a great product or service, and you end up having no longer a hobby but having a business. So now you know how this works a little bit. And if you want to know more about tools, I will be giving a free training coming soon. So let's see what's happening next. Kara, hopefully that helps on your next topic.
No, I love this. Okay, so what I just heard from you is essentially how personal productivity mirrors that of your business, right? So first it's that flow state. It's figuring out, getting all of your ducks in a row, hashtag chat GPT, and the power of creating those habits. So you're creating some consistency, like the calls to action on your website, and doing lots of them, right? 10 and 5, 10, like a Pomodoro method, right? Here's a little one, here's a bigger one, here's a little one, here's a bigger one. And then using that data, that analytics from that to drive that next level of productivity, that silent space, that wait space, that find out where they're buying, and then creating more of those opportunities. Same thing for your personal space, right? So you got to do that float, that deep work to give yourself permission to do it, which is going to give you the habits, which you're going to leverage when you use the tools, that is going to give you more data to decide what you want to do with next. Yes. This mirrors
Yeah.
the self love thing that is about permission. It's about making sure that you are allowing yourself the space to figure out what all of those things are and the grace to do it, and then try again, and then try again, which is what life is about. And all of this leads us directly to that culture of productivity. So currently, we have a culture of performance, that hustle cult. This is at least my language for it, is that look busy, don't necessarily that you're being productive, but make sure you're busy. Make sure you look and have that sense of urgency, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's impacting, right? And that's where the breakdown seems to be, is this performance, busyness, anxiety place doesn't actually lead to high performance or high productivity. It just leads to more performing as if we're producing, but the not actually doing it part, because often to really have a healthy culture of productivity, you have to accept the downtime as well as the uptime, right? You have to get the tools, then you have to learn the tools, then you have to apply the tools. Then you have to see what you learn from applying those tools so you can reapply those tools to do it again and figure out what is working, figure out what your flow state looks like. Okay, Bruno, tell me what that brings up for you. I know that that ties into the system stuff, but from a self-love point of view,
Uh,
how do you bring that
ev-
culture?
yeah, I know. It's like, for example, so I'm gonna tell you a story, and hopefully I can actually tell the story and the Wi-Fi works. So like basically, so my first ever job I ever had, right? Like just to get to know how the world really was at Primark. I believe you know the brand, the clothing brand, right? Primark. And so I was extremely lazy. So what I would do would be I would pick on a bunch of stuff, right? And I would hide things behind, and nobody will know because the reality is that there was so many clothes there, and they all look the same. Oh, that's wrong. Not to anybody.
No, you cut out again.
Uh, I cut out. Can
Okay,
you
you're
hear
back.
me?
You're back. You're
Okay,
back.
you're
You're
back.
back.
Yeah. So as I was saying, I don't advise people to do that, right? But if the way I look at it is like, okay, so lazy people when they try hard but they maintain the lazy state of being, right? The lazy productivity, they actually end up doing more work, right? Because they find ways, right? They find lazy ways to do the job. Now you can do it lazy and well. I wasn't doing lazy and well. I was being lazy and a prick, right? But like if you can like be lazy and good, right? Find like fast ways to do things, right? Then eventually ends up like because you just want to get it over with, right? Like I just wanted to get it over with, right? And so that when it comes to that culture, right? I just figure that like like we should really destigmatize that that idea because when we talk about the idea of hustle culture, we talk about you have to be fast and you have to do this and you and you cannot say no, you cannot say no when you're not doing what you should be.
Oh no, you started to cut out there again.
Oh, I
Yeah,
got out again. Yeah, no. So I was describing a little bit of the hustle culture, right? So anxiety, like Clara was also saying, right? I was also saying about like you cannot complain, you need to do this and you need to do that because that's part of your job. You're doing it at bare minimum, and let's be honest, people kind
Bruno,
of like
you're going really fast, but we cannot hear you because the microphone is not working.
no, it's not my microphone, it's my Wi-Fi.
Oh, dang it. Okay, so let's
Yeah,
see. This is where I'm at so far. What I heard is once upon a time I worked at a clothing store and lots of the clothes looked exactly the same, so I was able to only kind of half my job. However, just because I was being lazy and not productive doesn't mean you can't do lazy and productive.
right. Absolutely.
Right. And that in a culture of productivity, recognizing that words like lazy don't necessarily mean productive or unproductive because sometimes being lazy, and I would agree with this, is absolutely the most productive thing that you can do so that you can rest and recover, so that you can do things the lazy way, which is finding ways to simplify them rather than the hustle cult way, which I think you were talking about, is that the being lazy and doing it badly just means you actually do more work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do
I
you have
mean,
anything else?
like for example,
Okay.
like for example, I mean, it's one of those things where like the people who are lazy are also smart, right? Because ultimately, what also culture says is that you're lazy, you're not smart, right? If you're productive, you're smart, right? But that's not true at all because it's different perspectives. So
Yeah.
that is right, and that's it.
Oh, I love that. I love that for a productive for culture productivity. I love that lean because 100%. Uh, while we currently have that hustle cult that likes the performance of busy, in reality, I mean, this is why all of the Johnny systems exist, right? Like, this is why he can help you with SEO. This is why he can help you with visibility. This is why he can help you with referrals. All of those things exist so that we can be more lazy. Like if you really want a high productivity culture, get you some lazy folk and help them figure out how to do the job less. Because that's the ultimate goal, right? It's not a work life balance. It's how can I work less so I can enjoy more life.
Yes.
Yeah. Johnny, wrap us up and send us out. I thought that did well, so I have nothing else to say.
Well, to me, pretty much is you already know your tools. You have a method that Kara has explained to you. I mean, the only thing that it comes up to me at this point is, hey, do the work. If you find that you get stuck, reach out to us, and we will be there to help you. Besides that, I hope you have a very productive week. Besides that, I almost also forgot September 2nd, happy Labor Day. I completely forgot to say that today. So if you had to work today, you were actually doing your duty, not like everybody else that was at home doing nothing. Alrighty. So bye everyone. See you all soon.